He came down to us from Schenectady. His background is in engineering. He was on the county legislature before he was in the New York State Assembly. And I have to tell you, in government, in politics, you meet some people who are in it for the right reason. And Angelo Santa Barbara is in it for the right reasons. He leads with intelligence, energy, and integrity, and compassion. He is a prolific writer of bills. I've signed on to a lot of his bills, and he is just wonderful. Excuse me here. He is on the Committee for Mental Health, the Committee for Racing and Wagering, the Committee on Energy, the Committee on Government Employees, the Task Force on Food, Farm, and Nutrition Policy, and he is also the chair of the People with Disabilities Committee, and he is one of the leaders in the New York State Assembly. He has been there for 15 years, and we look to him for a lot of leadership on this. Ladies and gentlemen, Angelo Santa Barbara, National Schenectady, the 111th Assembly Committee.
Thank you for that introduction. Let's give him another round of applause for ourselves. This is my son, Michael. I want to thank Lisa, Mark, the Luv Michael team. Let's give them a round of applause. Michael ate a lot of granola that day. He absolutely loved it, and it did not last long. But I appreciate the visit. It was a meaningful visit, and it led to me attending here today and learning all about the work that's being done. I am from the city of Schenectady. Anybody from Schenectady? So I'm upstate. My parents both new to the country. I'm first generation American. I didn't speak English until I was in first grade. I didn't know where life was going to lead me, but I had a great community, a lot of good teachers, a lot of people to help me, and I was able to pursue my goals in life. But it's an honor to be here today. This is a wonderful event, and I love to see the awareness. But I love to see awareness events, but also events that are a call to action. And I think that's what this is about. Because the action is really what uplifts people with disabilities, empowers families, and it reminds them, as you said, that they're not alone. But it also reminds us all to keep pushing forward. And as you can tell, I'm very proud to have my son Michael with me here today. Sometimes he's at his program, sometimes he's at some school. I can't always have him with me. But I do bring him to the Capitol, bring him to my press conferences. I brought him on the floor of the Assembly, and I think it's important that we all share our stories. It's those personal stories that really make a difference. Because not everybody's connected. Not everybody has a relationship. Not everybody knows. We may think that everybody knows, but not everybody knows. So it's so important for all of us to come together like this and share those personal stories that make a difference. My journey with Michael has been, it changed my life. He's a great influence on the work that I do at the state capitol. He's the reason I entered public service. I had no business being in politics. I went to school for engineering. Years ago, I got out of high school. I served in the Army Reserve, and I was in Missouri for a while. A lot of engineers in the unit, and I really liked the engineering field. And I thought that's what I would do for the rest of my life. But just having him here today reminds me why I'm here, why I do this. It's because love, family, and community can make a difference. It can transform lives. It can really change people's lives for the better. And I believe that the measure of any society is found in how we treat our most vulnerable. We talked about some of those issues here already today. When we remove barriers, expand opportunities, ensure that every voice is heard, we don't just support the individuals with disabilities, strengthen our community as a whole. When Michael, I remember the day, he was about 3.5 years old when he first was diagnosed with autism. We didn't know, my wife and I didn't know what to do, so just uncertain time. And I relive that every time I talk to somebody in my office. I relive those moments. Every time I hear a new family come in and ask, what do I do now? But we've been on this journey together. I share everything we do. I have a daughter, Mariana, who's a little younger than Michael. I treat them exactly the same. Whatever I do for one, I do for the other. Wherever we go, we always go together. It's not always easy. You know, society sometimes is not the friendliest. It's not, you know, sometimes you feel uncomfortable. But it's about Michael, right? It's about learning happens out there in the world. It's not just in the classroom. It's important that we bring our kids, that we include them in everything we do. And that's the journey that really taught me something powerful, that with the right support, the right opportunities, the right understanding, every individual, with all abilities, we can all thrive. We can all do this together. As I said before Michael was born, I really thought engineering was it. I really enjoyed solving problems, designing things, building solutions, and I said, this is my calling in life. And I remember my wife and I were just starting out, and there wasn't a lot. We didn't have a lot back then. We spent every last dollar for me to get through school, to get my engineering license. But Michael, he changed everything. He reshaped my purpose in life. And I realized the most important problems to solve were not those blueprints. It was not those technical plans that I was looking at. They were in everyday lives of families like mine. Families who needed a voice, who needed someone to fight for inclusion, for the resources that we all need for our families and the respect. And that's what drew me to public service, and that's why I'm here today. That's what led me to the New York State Assembly. And that's why I fight in Albany. This is why I fight in Albany. For all of you. For kids like him, for adults like him. We just had this conversation. When we think of autism, we think of kids all the time. We think of young children. But the truth is, there's so many that are adults that people don't think about, they don't know about. So every day it's important. These visits to the Capitol are important. And I know it can be a long journey to go out there, but it's important that you talk to those legislators, talk to everybody. I carry with me all those stories when I speak on the floor, when I speak on bills, who share that same hope, that same determination, that same need for their loved ones to be seen, heard, and most importantly, to be included. And when that trip really inspired me. We made a trip down here last night. I was hoping to meet up with you last night, but Michael had other plans. So the transition last night, it was rough. It's a new environment. We were away from home. We thought we were going on vacation somewhere else. We got here and we're like, wait, there's no rides here, and there's no. So we had a little transition. We just couldn't make it out. But that happens. That's the reality. We live this. That's the reality of it all. But it's important that we share stories like that. People don't know what that's like. And to bring those voices into the state capitol, into the halls of government. Today, the last numbers I checked, 1 in 36 children in the U.S. are diagnosed with autism. It might have changed by the time I even printed this here. More than 1 million live with a disability. But I believe each one of them have unique strengths as they do challenges. We have a lot to do in Albany. We do. And across the state, we talk about housing. There's wait lists. My son was on one of those wait lists for almost 4 years. People with developmental disabilities, thousands of people waiting for housing options, and they wait and they stay on this list. Families wait for years, longer than that. Some families wait for years and years. The staffing shortage we talk about over and over. short-staffed. The ARCs, they're short-staffed. People that work in this field, they're all short-staffed. Turnover rates are very high, and you know, every individual has, as I said, their strengths, and until you really get to know individuals like Michael, you really can't understand what their needs are. And when I'm not there for him, I would expect that the people that are there, they know him, but when you have that turnover, it's very hard to have that continuity. But we have to remember these numbers. It's not just, you look at these spreadsheets, you look at all these numbers. They're not just numbers. Behind every number is a family, is a person, is a real person, a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister. And they all deserve the opportunity to live with dignity and opportunity. And that's why my career changed. I made this my life's work. This is my passion. I chair the Committee on People with Disabilities, as you heard, and I take it very seriously. We passed a record number of bills this year. And I think some of those bills we had could not be done without advocates, Bill was here, without advocates coming up to the Capitol and helping me do it. All the voices behind these bills is what makes it happen. And legislation that really reflects the values that we all share. Inclusion, dignity, opportunity. We just talked about the Communication Bill of Rights. What I thought was going to be an easy bill. Yeah, that was going to be an easy bill. Makes total sense, but it was anything but easy. And we still have to get it through the Senate. But that is going to be a top priority next year. That bill affirms every non-speaking individual has the right to use their the method of communication they choose, whatever that looks like. If it's a spelling board, assistive technology, any other tool, they have a right to that, and no one can take it away. And it seems like an easy bill, right? But it was a difficult path, and I think it was the last or second to last day of session, we got it through the Assembly. And people came up, when people showed up for this bill, they showed up. And that's why I got across the finish line. So thank you for that. Communication is not a privilege, it's a basic human right. People have the right to communicate how they want to. My son uses a spelling board sometimes, a digital communication tool. Sometimes he uses sign language, but however he wants to communicate, that's up to him. And that can't be taken away. We talked about housing initiatives. We're developing legislation. We have a pilot program we're working on with Luv Michael to expand housing. Housing is an issue. Affordable housing is what we talked about. But when we, and I remind people of this, when we talk about affordable housing, when we talk about housing shortages, we need to also talk about people with disabilities in that conversation. And it seems like that piece is always the afterthought, but it needs to be part of the conversation. Community-based, yes. Community-based housing for individuals with intellectual and developmental disability, that's been a shortage. Long before we talked about housing at the Capitol, that's been a shortage for years and years. No family should have to wait for years to find a home for their loved one. We passed a bill, we had a bill that Disability Access Accountability Commissions Act that creates a watchdog to ensure public institutions meet standards and that families have a voice in that process. We passed a bill about playgrounds. Playgrounds seem like a simple thing. In my district, we're replacing playgrounds everywhere. And my question was, if we're going to do this, are we including people with disabilities? We have wheelchair accessibility, sensory. Do we have these things? These are pretty standard things now. So if we're going to spend money on this, let's do it right and make sure everyone. Pick up the prayers, and make sure that you don't just have kids sitting on the sideline watching other kids play in the playground. That's not right. And those playgrounds, when I say learning happens outside the classroom, where do kids make friends? Where do they have those relationships, develop those relationships, develop those people skills. It happens out there with other kids at the playground. So if kids cannot participate, they can't be part of that learning. There was a number of other bills that were sponsored, co-sponsored, and as my colleague mentioned, I've seen growing support for these bills, a lot of co-sponsors, a lot of people. I think the Communication Bill of Rights, we might have had, I don't know, 70, 80 sponsors on it. It was a lot. There was a lot of sponsors on that. In years past, we did the Autism ID card, which has been great for my son when we go to the airport. That little card, just a reminder for TSA or wherever you're going on a bus, you have disability, what that is, what that may look like. The first responder training for police and firefighters. That was a bill that we passed just a few years in the Assembly. It was a big change. Now it's like, it's just a common thing. Just recognize the signs of autism, recognize disabilities, recognize the hidden disabilities that you may not be able to see. And I tell you, the EMTs, the firefighters, they're thankful for it. They want to have this information. So why should we be providing it for them? Just signed into law just less than a month ago, the Accessible College Materials Act. That's right. Requiring publishers to provide textbooks in accessible formats for students with disabilities. They can do this. They can do this. Why do we need a bill for this? But we do. We do. They can, when they print these materials, they can provide them in different formats, and they should be doing that. The Direct Professional Worker Registry is a piece of legislation that I authored that professionalizes this industry. And it's going to help address the high turnover so families can count on that care. These are bills that make a lot of sense, and they've been sitting around, but I don't want these bills sitting around. We've got to move these bills, we've got to pass them so that we can so that we can advance and improve care for everyone that has a disability. The Blue Ribbon Commission on the future of New York's IDD system. So OPWDD, I say this all the time, it's a model that needs to be updated. It needs to come in to this century. It's been in this place for a while. So this bill says, let's bring together the experts, and more importantly, the families who live this, that have experienced this, the advocates, to reimagine how services can be delivered. The system we have today must evolve and must meet the needs of tomorrow. The Employment First legislation. Employment has been an issue. When we talk about disabilities, look at the employment numbers, it's very, very low. And there are people, you guys have price shopper down here, Gold Mark 32? We have a supermarket chain, and I think like 15% of their workforce are people with disabilities, people that have a job. And again, you have that workplace environment. So you talk to other workers, you earn a paycheck, you bring that home. That's part of life. That's something that people, when you ask people with disabilities what do they want to be included. They want to do what everyone else is able to do. So this Employment First legislation makes sure that people have that right to that same meaningful work and economic development, economic independence as anyone else has. Those are just a few bills that I mentioned for this. I don't want to speak for the rest of the conference here. I could go on and on, but I do have a packet of some of the bills we did on our Autism Action Day. But each one revolves around that same belief that individuals with disabilities are not problems to solve. They're people with gifts, with talents, potential. My son is in a cooking program. He's loved cooking his entire life. He cooks with my mom. We share videos on Facebook. He has his own YouTube channel. You saw the meatball one, meatballs. And it's a talent, it's a gift. He knows how to do it, and he enjoys it. And that's something he really loves to do. And that's just one example of the many talents and potential. And it's our responsibility to pass legislation, find funding, build systems that let those gifts shine. But legislation, funding, what happens at the Capitol, that's only one piece of the puzzle. What happens here in our communities, just as important, more important. It begins in rooms like this with families, advocates, educators, People coming together, demanding that we do better. And it's going to take all of us to advance this legislation, just like we did with that communication bill of rights. There was times when I thought, wow, this is going to be an uphill battle, I don't know how we're going to get this done. And the answer was simple. We got it done because people showed up. People thought it was important enough to show up and make the journey to the Capitol and let people know that's important to them. So my call to action today, keep sharing those stories in any way you want. On Facebook, just like the TikTok videos that you share, those are so powerful. There's nothing more powerful than self-habit than sharing your story. Keep showing up at the Capitol. Keep pushing for people to do better. Because when we stick together, when our voices are together as one, yes, when our voices rise together, change is inevitable. It will happen. So to everyone here, anybody with a disability, remember, you are not defined by a diagnosis. You're not defined by any label. You're defined by your passion, your talent, and your dreams. And to the parents and families, they're not talking to you today, you're not alone. You're not alone. We're all in this together. Together we can build a world where every individual has the opportunity to live, love, and work and thrive as part of our community. So thank you for having me here today. It's been an honor and privilege to be able to speak to all of you. Let's continue to support and work together. Let's keep advancing these initiatives that are going to help our families.